What in the world just happened?
My phone.
Is that your ring?
No, it was my phone.
Oh, okay. Whenever you're ready, Scott.
All right, in 3, 2, 1. In today's episode of Quality Time with Family Ties, we learn this episode is 4F.
In 3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Quality Time with Family Ties. I am your host, Paul Packler, and with me, as always, is Corey Pepper. Corey, how are you doing?
I'm great. I'm so good. This episode was so good. I so enjoyed it.
Well, being that this is an audio medium, if you're listening to us right now, Corey did not mean a word that he just said. You could see it.
This is all
like the nose on his face.
We've hit rock bottom.
And joining us, as occasionally he does, one Master Scott Jones, Esquire. Scott, how are you doing?
It's so great all three of us are together. And thanks for bringing the band, Paul.
Woo! This was such a bad episode, I figured that the magic of music would make us all feel better.
Something to happen to this episode. Oh my God. Like we were talking earlier, I don't know. It's hard to gauge bad episodes now because there's like a spectrum of bad episodes, it seems. There's the heavy-handed ones that
low by these people.
Yes. It's just awful. They have given up. I'm surprised we haven't given up.
There's something that happens in this episode, gang, that it's I think kind of endemic or like a synecdoche of what is the problem with the whole show, and it happens here. Like at this point in season 7, you're like, so how would you explain how much they don't care about working on this show anymore? And it happens in this episode, and it gives you just the skeleton key of what you need to know about all of this season.
Yeah, for those of you listening, I just want to point out that synecdoche is this season's oligarchy for Paul.
You know what? As the world goes further and further into shit, and our president is tweeting again right now. As the world goes further into shit, and especially America, the word oligarchy is getting bandied about quite regularly. So I feel like I was kind of ahead of the curve.
You were. It was a great word and very present for the time.
Yeah. Thank you. This is season 7, episode 8.
Yep, our last episode 8,
which is something that I'm happy about. What is the title? Corey, do you know what the title is?
Basic Training.
I asked that because
about their titles anymore.
Because Corey, you had something happen to you during this episode that I think we should maybe talk about.
Well, for the first time ever, I simply stopped taking notes. When we reached the point in this episode that we will reach at the end of Act 1, when it shifts, it is truly, it's ridiculous. This episode is just ridiculous.
Oh, and kind of predictable too, in a lot of ways. Like it makes no logical sense. The comedy doesn't make any sense. The jokes are horrible. No one is used.
If it was a Skippy spinoff, like it looked like it wanted to be, I could have bought it a little bit more. Instead, it was just a vacation week for the regulars.
Mm-hmm.
That's really... Oh, I didn't even think of that. That's totally what it was. If it were a soft pilot, it would have spent a lot more time with Skippy.
I bet that idea was tossed around. Skippy in the army.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would have been a terrible show, but I feel like it would have gotten at least a season.
Yeah, because it would. I mean, the pitch would have been like, "Hey, it's like an '80s Gomer Pyle. It's gonna be great."
Absolutely.
It's just terrible. And usually I absolve Skippy, and in this episode, I don't even think I can absolve Skippy of this. It was just like it was dull. He was dull. The show was dull. Sergeant Davis was dull. Everyone was just dull.
Yeah. Because the thing is that in order for this to work, there has to be an honest, logical reason for Skippy wanting to go into the army.
Mhm.
Like there is no desire given to him except he just is fed up with his life.
It's out of left field, and it's almost like, why don't we let Skippy do the most unlikely thing we can think of for him to do? And that's funny. No, it's not.
No, not just for the sake of doing it. No.
Nothing about it's believable. His behavior isn't believable. He still acts though as if there's some sort of a mental handicap that I've described with him before, that sometimes he just seems as though truly that there's something wrong with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to me, that's not funny. I mean, you know, in Speechless, it's funny. In this, it's not. It's just not funny to make fun of somebody who I think is just really stupid.
Right. Yeah. I mean, a character can be funny, but a character can't like put the weight. You can't put the weight of the funny on that character just to be funny. You have to have a situation and everything else involved with it. So, yeah. Why do we know so much more than these writers that got paid millions of dollars to do this?
And then they have this really lazy ass B plot of basically a continuation of the 2-hour episode from the week before, where they're babying Steven over his heart attack.
Which I was shocked that they actually had any sort of continuity.
I know. I was pleasantly surprised, but then they told the same joke over and over again throughout the entire episode. And so it's like, ah, you lazy bastards, you wrote one joke and you wrote 12 punchlines.
Right.
Corey, you had a heart attack and stuff. We've talked about this in previous episodes. Did you have to dramatically change your food or lifestyle afterward?
Yeah.
Was it but was it as like
no, it wasn't
existential crisis?
At first, I went overboard at first.
Okay.
I did go overboard at first. I went meatless a lot of nights. You know, I'm the least vegetarian human being in the world, and I did try a little vegetarian like a couple of nights a week, but that gave that up quickly.
Yeah. I'm with you, Paul. Like when I saw that they brought back Steven's heart attack, I was like, oh, so now for Steven 7, you're going to care about continuity in the show?
Yeah.
Now it comes to it, like, that's what you think of now?
They only have like a dozen or so episodes left, so it's fine to paint themselves into a corner.
Sure. All right. Yeah.
This first part of the episode, because I didn't take any notes. I never do. Corey, you didn't take notes. Scott, did you take notes?
Oh, no, I have the first couple of scenes.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah,
Corey, start us off.
Yeah, well, they're babying Steven over his heart attack, and then they call it the H thingy. They don't even want to say the word heart attack.
Yeah.
And then they try and make a joke like, oh, I don't want to mention the D thingy, like you're gonna die. And it's just awful. And they're tiptoeing around Steven because he had a heart attack, and they don't want him to have dessert. And for some reason, Elise made a loaf of chocolate pudding, and someone's gonna have to explain that one to me. The chocolate pudding was in a loaf pan.
I didn't catch that, but it was like
a ceramic meatloaf pan. I don't understand who makes pudding in a loaf pan.
What do you put it in cups, right?
Well, you'd put it in cups, or you'd put it in a bowl and scoop it out of the bowl. But I don't understand why anybody's making it in a. I mean, they had the choice. It's not like in your kitchen where you go, oh, I have to wash out the bowl. I don't want to do that. I'll just throw it in a loaf pan. That would make sense. But this seemed to have been a conscious decision when everything was empty in the kitchen and clean, that the prop guy said, I'm going to put the chocolate pudding prop in a loaf pan. Who does that? Who makes pudding in a loaf pan?
That was weird. What does Steven get, Corey?
Steven has something with plankton in it, with like plankton whip topping or something like that. It's bad.
So bad. It's so bad.
And then the whole episode takes a terrible turn that it never comes back from upon the entrance of Mallory and Skippy coming home from career day at Grant College. And Skippy announces right away, everything is wrong. They never explain that further than simply telling us it's Skippy. Everything is wrong.
Yeah. That's it. Perennial loser, Erwin Skippy Handelman.
Right. This is the worst day. Why? Because it is.
Now, here's what pissed me off about that, is the fact of kind of about the time, like not too long ago, Skippy had a girlfriend. Skippy was immersing himself more in college.
Yep.
Skippy was on an upswing in his life. The character was making a logical change, which would have been way more fun to explore. Like,
but unfortunately, the writers have never seen prior episodes of the show.
That's exactly what it was. You did not see the end of season 6 to know he has a girlfriend. Like, bring him in with his girlfriend. Make his life go good. Like, Skippy has found his place in the world. It's a weird place, but let him be in that place. That would have been fun to see.
And I'm sorry, he's 2 years into college and they have career day? That's a junior year high school thing.
Yes. Yes. You should have had a major by now. You should know what you're going to be doing with your life, or had some decisions made of what you're interested in and what possible careers, if you're going in through the whole college process.
Yeah. So that's fucked up. Like, this is obviously just some stock premise that they were like, oh, how about this will be fun, as opposed to keeping in the reality of any situation that they're dealing with in this season.
Right.
So Skippy goes through these brochures of possible careers, and he feels that he's not fit for anything until he gets to the Army brochure. And of all things for him to think he's perfect for, the United States Armed Forces is what he's drawn to.
Right. That's the thing that he's excited about, which, again, writers not knowing their characters, I would think that would scare Skippy.
I think it would terrify him.
Yeah.
And then he says to Alex, I want to do this. How do you do this? Once again, 20 years old in his second year of college. Now, I'm going to tell you guys something maybe you don't know about this, but I've never gone to a recruitment center, but I know they exist.
Corey, did you know them when you were a sophomore in college, though?
Yes, I did, because I had to have a draft number when I was a sophomore in college. I had a lottery number for the draft.
Oh, fuck. Oh, gosh. How'd you get out of that?
It was in college.
Okay, so you got a deferment.
You get deferred when you're in college, so it was never a problem. Yeah, and by the time I got out of college, that was gone already.
Wow.
But I know that people go to recruitment centers and would have to, probably fill out a lot of applications, and there'd probably be physical and mental tests.
Right. And can we point out that he also has the brochure in his hand that's probably telling him all of this?
Where to go. So this is where we sort of lose our episode of Family Ties, and we sort of turned it into Skippy's Biloxi Blues.
Oh, do we ever, Corey? That to me is the most offensive part of this episode.
Yep, it turns into Skippy's Biloxi Blues, and there was no reason for it, because they have never learned that we don't give a shit about people who we've known for 35 seconds.
Yeah.
Don't care what they're saying, don't care what they're doing, don't care what they're doing to the leading character. It's hard. You can't create interesting characters that quickly. No.
And the whole thing about TV is, with a TV show, you begin to love the characters. You want them in your home every Thursday night because you've grown to love them. It's not every episode you bring in a batch of new people and we're supposed to be like, I give a shit what they want or who they are.
And here they give us Sergeant Davis right off the bat.
Good performance by this guy. I thought he was a good performance.
He played it completely straight. And of course, he played it completely straight because they failed to write any jokes into his part.
Yeah.
It was just it was like a really straightforward performance. He was just fine. But boy, it goes absolutely nowhere, and it's very much of a stereotype.
Because they take Skippy down to the recruitment office. Alex does. And this is where one of the most ridiculous jokes I've ever heard Family Ties do is Sergeant Davis is more interested in recruiting Alex for whatever reason. And he says
5'1", 97 pounds of mullet.
Yeah. Yes. He looks like quality Army material. And he talks about being a business type guy, and then Sergeant Davis holds up a sign about something with like the accountants attacking accountants or something like that, which is the picture of a business guy being like airdropped into enemy territory.
So we're to understand here.
I don't.
This is what the creators of Family Ties want us to understand, is that when Sergeant Davis says to Alex, no, we have a formal unit of accountants that we send behind enemy lines to fuck up their books. He says some other word than fuck. And he probably says another word than books. But he says that, and I almost think it's funny that he's saying this. But then the actor pulls up a prop that's been done up, like you said, Scott, of a businessman that is also wearing a parachute dropping down. And that's like this drawn up, done up thing. And it's like Carrot Top, where it's like prop humor isn't funny because you told me the punchline. Now you're showing me the punchline. And the problem for me here is it was a funny enough joke when he just said, oh, no, we have this air accountants division. To then be like, oh, no, it's actually a real thing that the Army has, made me be like, so when did that happen? When did they start making? So now I've stopped listening to the whole scene.
Yeah, it takes you out of everything. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
They went too far and it broke it off.
So yeah, there's a couple, like there's this kind of, witty banter between Sergeant Davis and Skippy. Sergeant Davis is asking questions. Skippy has like he's not fully aware, like he has the literal answer for everything. And like people, are you? Oh God, I'm trying to. This episode was so bad I can't even remember the jokes in quotations. But it's just this banter back and forth, mild chuckles, and basically by the end of the scene, Sergeant Davis feels like, yeah, Skippy, you there's a couple formalities, but you are going to. We think you're good quality for the Army. When from the moment saying hi to Skippy, it should be very evident he should not be recruited for the Army.
Yeah, I would like to know what the flicker of a flame that Sergeant Davis saw in Erwin Handelman that made him say, you know what, this kid's a fuck up, but it takes all kinds and maybe we'll make a man out of him. I would love to know what that is because I didn't see it in the interview.
Yeah, Sergeant Davis, what did you see in this
especially considering when we get to the final scene, we could have cut out everything else because what he says in the final scene is what we have known from the very beginning. We have to let you go. You're not fit for this. This isn't the right fit for you.
That was maybe the most shocking thing in this whole episode, is just that they didn't send him to prison.
Yes! The fact not military prison at the end of that.
Yeah!
That would have been awesome.
They're like, everything's fine, Skippy, hug, we'll see you never.
That would have gone
go home and go back and finish your second year at Grant.
Yeah.
That would have been like Skippy's Full Metal Jacket. That would have been awesome.
Oh, you're getting ahead of it, Scott, because that happens too.
No, that's right. I am. I'm sorry. Yeah.
But so he signs up, and then we go home again. Some time has passed, and so now the Keatons are hosting a going away party for Skippy. They're putting up banners and bringing out dip and raw potatoes.
Because God forbid the Handelmans do it at their place.
Have we ever met Mr. and Mrs. Handelman before, Mama and Daddy Handelman?
It might be different actors, but we did when Skippy was adopted.
That I thought.
But where the fuck is Skippy's sister?
Yeah.
Not even mentioned.
Wow. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, she'd be like 17 at this point.
Yeah. It'd been nice to see her again. We liked her.
Yeah.
There's also the reference to Steven's heart attack again with the thin potato chips. And Skippy mentions that Sergeant Davis is going to come by and pick him up after the party so that they can be at the barracks at 0600 hours.
Which always happens.
That seemed really strange.
Personally, really go to boot camp.
And in the previous scene, isn't it so coincidental that Sergeant Davis is going to be transferring too?
At the same time.
At the same time. Wow. Can't see where this is going.
Oh, and Skippy has this thing where he keeps hugging Sergeant Davis of how much he appreciates he's done for him, and he feels this real kinship with him and all this kind of stuff. So, like, before the commercial break, he hugs him at least 3 times.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, Skippy's parents are really upset. They're distraught, especially the mom.
Well, they say that they're upset. Like before,
the dad's not. The dad's not.
Yeah, when they buzz them in, or when they buzz the front door, Elise says to Steven, "Listen, the Handelmans are kind of upset about this, so let's not make them feel bad about Skippy's decision." They walk in the door, and Mom periodically cries, but Dad's like, "Get the fuck out of my house."
Yeah, he's so over Skippy. It's like, get out of town.
Yeah.
Yes, he's like, Jesus Christ! I've been praying for this day for my entire life. Yeah, the mom. Yeah, there's 2 different takes on Skippy. The mom, like, is overly motherly, which you kind of get a sense of that's why a source of all of Skippy's problems. And the dad is just like, I can't believe I'm in this family. I just want it to all go away.
Yeah, which is something we have never seen from Mr. Handelman before.
No.
I you know, it's weird to me that the Keaton, Steven, and Elise are fine with Skippy going into the army. This is some dangerous waters to tread into, but I think that they would be not kosher with this.
I agree with you, and I thought that was strange that they didn't mention it. They're pacifists.
They were anti-Vietnam, and being anti-Vietnam in the 60s meant that you were anti-imperialism, because Vietnam was an imperialist police action that was illegal that the American government did against the people of Vietnam. So you would have a certain feeling about the military being a force for imperialism around the world. Now, that's not to say that they don't like soldiers or the courage that they, the personal fortitude it takes and courage it takes and stuff to be a soldier. But Stephen and Elise Keaton would not be cool with the American military apparatus.
Yes, that I thought the same thing, and there was so much material to mine from that idea. Like, you could have some funny bits, you could have, or some commentary.
But you know what? I'll say this, though. By the time the 80s roll around and Ronald Reagan, you had this complete backlash to an anti-war movement that even liberals became very squeamish about talking about such things in such a way.
So that might have prevented a lot of that arc kind of being in there.
It became a third rail. It became a thing where it's like you just have to respect the troops and the military, and there's no questioning of what they're doing, and that started with Ronald Reagan. Obviously, got exacerbated after 9/11, but
glad to see things haven't changed.
I know, right?
Jesus. But for a show that kind of made its claim on the different political views of the family, to not have that in there somewhere is kind of a disappointment.
Yeah.
So we move past the party, and we go straight to the barracks?
Yeah, we're in the second act now.
Oh, okay. So yeah, the last thing that happens is one of the most annoying things that's ever happened. As Skippy and Sergeant Davis are leaving the house, the Keatons start doing a barbershop quintet of the Battle Hymn of the Republic.
It was strange. It made no sense.
Like dead serious, like in 5-part harmony.
Yeah. It was odd. It was disconcerting.
They really don't even say goodbye, Skippy. They just sing the Battle Hymn of the Republic as he says goodbye to them. It's a very odd send-off.
You know what it felt like to me? It's like when you've been in a show for a very long time and you're out on stage and you have done this show countless times, literally countless, where you can't even keep track of how many times you've done it. And then you start like hitting each other or like making in-jokes while you're on stage and stuff like that. And this Battle Hymn of the Republic bit and the way they act during it feels like that, where these 5 actors are just like, I don't even care anymore. Let's just have fun with each other as actors.
I don't know what you're talking about, Paul.
Hashtag Rodney Ball. And with
Hashtag
that,
Rodney Ball.
with that, we'll be right back. And we're back. Here, wait a second.
Most unprofessional behavior I've ever heard in my entire life.
You know, it's the only quickly inside comment for us. I always hated that I did not get to play Roddy Ball because Roddy would have to be dopey, and that was the only part I played. So I never got to participate in Rodney Ball.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember how it played out or what was the thing, but just like it was fun.
I remember sitting in the audience and scoring a few games.
That's how serious it got.
It got pretty damn serious. I got out of costume and makeup and sat in the audience and I scored. I gave people points and bonuses. If I remember correctly, Snow White came out way ahead because every time she laid one on him, I thought we were just about to get fired. Every time Snow White body checked him into a piece of scenery, I thought, wow, they're going to get furious at us pretty damn soon.
What was the character that Rodney was playing at the moment when
it was Dopey?
It was Dopey. He had to be Dopey. Yeah.
That's why you played Rodney Ball because you played it when you got to play Sleepy.
Bashful.
Bashful.
Yeah.
So yeah, but Scott never got to play it.
Mm-mm.
And I was in it more times than not. I don't know why. I don't think I had anything to do with starting it, but I could have. I did enjoy it. It did make me laugh, but I sure enjoyed scoring it. I do remember sitting in the front row once and scoring it. Really,
that's amazing.
That's awesome.
And we were taking notes the whole show of like, wow, I just want to let you know, in case you missed it, Snow White stepped on his foot and then body checked him. He was like on his feet and then pushed him. And it was really subtle too. It's like, how do you put your feet down real subtly while you're talking to him and then just shove him right?
Do you remember which Snow White it was?
Of course, it was Kristen.
Oh, okay. That would be Kristen.
I'm proud of us for not using any last names.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure. It was great. It was really entertaining. It was definitely. And what was really funny was that the stage managers were just as entertained but furious with us.
Okay, we got to get back to this shit.
I don't know what shit you're talking about. I have a blank page. I don't know what happened.
Well, we're at the barracks.
To Biloxi Blues.
Yeah, Biloxi Blues almost bordering on Full Metal Jacket, too.
Yeah, because there's two things that happen that evoke both of those. The first is that there's 4 or 5 guys that hang out with Skippy, and each of them are like big, tall, 1980s, under 5 actors in Hollywood type thing, blonde hair, big whatever, Matt Merchant type looking guys. And they all have the worst sort of Jewish, Italian, New York accents where they don't look like, nor do they even give the idea of being from New York. And yet they're like, Handelman, how can you do this to us right now? And you're just like, what the fuck is going on? And it's just because they're emulating Biloxi Blues.
Yeah.
Now, we also have to mention that we've hit rock Baldwin bottom.
Was he a Baldwin? He totally looked like a Baldwin.
That was Danny Baldwin.
That was Danny Baldwin?
Yes.
We've had 2 Baldwins on this show?
On this season, we've had 2 Baldwins.
I'm flabbergasted.
Wow.
Yes, we had Stephen Baldwin about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and we got Danny Baldwin this week.
Wow. Ugh. The bottom of the barrel of Baldwins.
Mm-hmm.
That's
the bottom of the barrel of Baldwins is maybe my favorite thing we've said on this entire series.
We got the 2 lesser Baldwins on the show. We couldn't get the 2 greater Baldwins on the show.
Also, for you actors, warming up before a performance, it's a good tongue twister too. Bottom of the barrel of the Baldwins. Bottom of the barrel of the Baldwins. Thank you.
So yeah, so they're getting on his case because he's a fuck up and he's like sleeping in bed. It's 5 a.m. and he hasn't woken up yet. And they're like, "You're gonna get us in trouble." And then they're all like, "We're gonna go on leave this weekend and fuck some girls." And what are you gonna do, Skippy? And he's like, "Well, I kind of read as at least asexual." And
I'm going to study the Geneva Convention.
And just like the CIA, no one in the room knows what the Geneva Convention is. Oh, you asshole! You torturing piece of shit! God damn, that was good. I had that. Wait, I had that ready.
You had that one ready. You had that one.
Yeah.
What's upsetting about this scene is it's completely Skippy is like oblivious that he is in the army. Like he's not even trying. Like
this is where I go back to my statement that he seems as though there's something mentally wrong with him.
Yes.
Like if you could get into the army, then you at least have to be aware that you're in the army. He's acting though he's still at home, which is why I question. They think it's funny. I think they've reduced him to being a moron.
Right. It's really disappointing when you give a character no sense at all. Like every character needs some sense of awareness. They can have a different point of view of the world, but even like your quote unquote dumb characters like a Phoebe on Friends, they're not dumb. They just view the world through a different lens. They don't give that to Skippy.
That's a very good point, Scott. And it would have been a lot more interesting to me is if Skippy cared and was trying his damnedest to do the right thing, but just was constitutionally incapable of being an army guy, as opposed to just being oblivious that he doesn't know when to wake up and he doesn't understand. He literally says, "You haven't tucked me in yet," to Sergeant Davis.
Right. And this is something you really passionately wanted, and you're doing nothing to try to achieve it.
Yeah.
So you've set yourself up for a series of jokes that don't make any sense.
Right.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, just like in Full Metal Jacket, the thing that they're emulating here is when Sergeant Davis comes in, he gives Skippy some guff, and then he starts walking down the line of beds, just like you always imagine in any production of Biloxi Blues. He walks down the beds, and the camera follows him almost like a steady cam, which is just so fucking Stanley Kubrick-y, where it's just like, you're obviously stealing the shot because you saw Full Metal Jacket. And that's it.
Yep. Yeah. It's just annoying. I mean, so basically what's happened is Skippy's bed is a mess. No effort whatsoever. And now we see Sergeant Davis, who is his drill instructor, become a different Sergeant Davis because that's what a drill instructor does. So he's yelling and screaming at Skippy, and Skippy, for whatever reason, is confused by this.
Right. He becomes stock drill instructor.
Yes. Just stock drill instructor.
Mm-hmm.
No, not quite up to the the level of Arlene Remy, but but yelling and screaming in everyone's face. And Skippy is wondering, like, he actually pulls Sergeant Davis aside and says, "What happened to us? We used to be so close."
It's so much. It's just so much. And that's the thing. If it were Skippy trying, but he's not, he's just being a sitcom character. And it's just boring to watch. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because there's no honesty.
Sergeant Davis does the right thing and says nobody gets to go on leave for the weekend because of Skippy Handelman, and sort of leaves unsaid. So fuck him up, guys.
Right. Right.
Teach him a lesson.
Which is how the shot kind of ends with all the Biloxi Blues guys circling Skippy, pretty much about to like beat the shit out of him.
Yeah. It's concerning. I hope as we see, Skippy isn't like hurt a lot or anything the next time we see him, but
yeah.
Oh, the one good thing in this episode is that Skippy, whatever the actor, Mark Price, gets a haircut and he doesn't have that shitty mullet anymore.
Oh yeah, he does.
Mm-hmm.
That's a shining light of this episode.
This is what we're stooping to for shining lights. Is the actors getting
draws clearly.
Wow. Wow. So we're back in the Keaton kitchen. This is where Steven's making a celery dog, I believe.
Yes, indeed.
A celery dog, yes.
And it is a long shot of him putting mustard. He puts the celery in a bun, puts mustard on it, takes a bite. It's a long shot, and he finally just looks at the dog and says, "Who am I kidding?" Not much of a laugh. That's about the reaction the joke got. Yeah.
Everybody pours into the room, and Mallory says, "I just got a postcard from Skippy, you guys." And it's in Spanish.
Oh yeah, let's unpack this.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Spanish?
The postcard is from Skippy, and it's written in Spanish. Now, I have a theory of why they set it up this way. Is because the writer came up with what he thought was a brilliant punchline, and the sake of the postcard being written in Spanish is only for that punchline. So the postcard is in Spanish. We don't know why. It's hard to even believe Skippy knows Spanish that well. And so Steven starts reading the postcard in Spanish, and it says something aquí in Akron. And that's when Jennifer goes, "Oh, so it sounds like he's in Akron." And then Mallory turns to Jennifer and says, "How do you know, Jen? You don't know Spanish that well." Meaning Akron being a Spanish word.
And the audience laughs at this, unlike us now.
It takes them a minute to kind of put it together.
Yeah, it's yeah. But the most important part of what happens right now is the fact that Michael J. Fox starts to break.
Yeah.
So he breaks, like for Rizzle, and he is just laughing at how dumb the joke was and how well that Justine Bateman sold it. Like something in her performance just tickled him, and he can't stop it. And he's breaking, and then the audience starts laughing that Michael J. Fox is laughing. And like the reality, and like the actors just keep pushing forward, and he's just like kind of turning red. He's got his fist up in front of his mouth and stuff. And what's amazing to me, and this is why this is the synecdoche of season 7, is the fact that we are seeing it happen. That the production team of Family Ties didn't care enough that they didn't say, "Let's get a second take."
No. They're like, at least something's funny in this episode. Just keep going.
Exactly. Something funny is happening, so let's just take that.
Go with it. Yep. You're absolutely right. Yeah, and you're right. Justine Bateman delivered it, like, man, does she make that joke work for as bad as it is. She is the queen of the throwaway line. She is so good at just throwing away a line and getting a laugh on it.
Right. And so Mallory is like, "Well, I guess I miss Skippy, I'll have to say. I miss how he would used to come over to our back door and put his face right up against the window, and then boom, Skippy's doing that, and it terrifies her."
Yep, she screams. And Skippy comes in and announces that he has gone AWOL from the army.
And Elise and Steven are greatly concerned, but then within minutes, knock, 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 also at the back door, Sergeant Davis is quickly behind.
Yeah, we've talked about how people travel on Family Ties and how quickly people can follow other people on through different episodes.
Indeed. Elise,
we're here for another backdoor finish.
Backdoor finish. Elise tries to keep Skippy like hidden. She's trying to hide a refugee, or whatever you would call it.
Criminal?
Yeah, I guess. But she does her due diligence, trying to like help her friend, like she did with her brother. I thought of that again. Someone that's fleeing justice. And so Skippy's like, "Fuck it." Sergeant Davis, I'm here, and everybody leaves, and they have a heart-to-heart, and Sergeant Davis is like, listen, we could arrest you, or we could, like, kill you right now, or there's a third option. The third option is we're just gonna let you go.
We let you go.
You only have so much time left in this season. Can you at least get an interesting arc of Skippy trying to make it in the military?
Yeah, you know, I really thought in the party scene that we were never gonna see Mark Price again.
I was thinking
I thought it was going to be a thing that he was just going to go away, and this is like an early conclusion type thing. You know, like somebody dies early in the final season of a show.
Yeah. It was so anticlimactic. There's so much better ways you could, end this.
The only thing I'll say that I kind of liked about this final scene is that Davis treats Skippy with some like modicum of respect, where he's like, you know what? You know, you fucked up here, but you had courage enough to sign up, and, you know, that sort of gumption is going to get you where you need to be in your life, because you're good at stuff, and you just need to find out what that stuff is.
Yeah, it was a really good message. Like, it was, like, I liked it was good, nice to see someone, like, have faith in Skippy. When everyone else has been like, you're a fuck up, it's nice to see someone like, hey, you can make it, you just got to find your way.
Yeah,
you know?
I appreciated that in this scene, but otherwise, just crap.
Yeah, absolutely.
Corey,
how do you hold it up? Yeah.
When this turned into a backdoor pilot for a bad Skippy show, this is just wow. Wow. Wow.
When Corey is this speechless, you know it's bad.
I really am. Just those scenes in the barracks at the beginning of Act 2 were just sort of like, what am I doing? What am I watching here? And who cares? I don't know these people. I don't care about Skippy. I mean, you've written this idiotic one-dimensional character that you never bothered to give any depth to at all, and now you expect me to care about his idiotic one-dimensional friends?
What can we say, guys? What can we say?
I completely agree. That's it. That's all you can.
That's all we can say about this episode.
You had 6 seasons, maybe 5, to build up a character of Skippy Handelman. And if you're gonna have him be the driving force of an episode that's all about like real shit, you had 5 seasons to build us to that point. I like where this is going.
I'm coming.
Oh, I thought you were gonna bring in somebody.
I know. I thought we were getting Maisie.
I am. Since we need, something good to go out on. Maisie.
Oh, good. There we go. Now we're talking.
Hi, Maisie.
Hi, Maisie.
Can you say hi? Hi.
Aww.
Say hi. We just watched a bad episode of Family Ties. We did. Can you say sha-la-la-la?
Pretty close.
Not bad. Big Bro will teach you it. Well, is that it for us, guys?
I think that's it. I think Maisie nailed it.
Mm-hmm.
Maisie nailed it. Right, Maisie? Mm-hmm. So for questions and comments, be sure to write us at qualitytimewithfamilyties@gmail.com. You can also look for updates on our Twitter feed at QTWFT. Each of us is also on Twitter. I'm at Follow Jones.
I'm at Paul Packler.
And I'm at Corpep.
And be sure to like our Facebook page. We'd like to thank our host and producer, Barbara Dillon at Fanbase Press. Fanbase Press is an online conglomerate of geek media, providing its daily readers and reviewers with daily insights into the geek pop culture spectrum. They're also an independent comic publisher. Be sure to check out everything that they do. We also like to thank Perry Adams, who beautifully performs the theme song Without Us. Check out Perry's music at perryadams.com. We like to thank Brian Dillon, Fanbase Press's president, and he also edits our show. And lastly, Sean Foster, Fanbase Press's editor, who also drew Fanbase Press's graphic designer, who also designed our logo. Thank you, guys, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
La 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 la.
You say bye. Bye.
Bye, Maisie.